Thank you so much for joining us. We've got, I say, an awful lot to talk about. Let's just go straight into this reform poll. It's, you know, a lot of reform people very, very excited about it. This is a YouGov poll for Sky News, came out at 10 o'clock last night, and we're looking at Labour on 25%. If there was an election tomorrow, that's what people asked, how would you vote? Reform just 1 point behind on 24. Tories another 2 points behind on 22. Lib Dems on 14. Greens on 8. But the really fascinating thing, I think, is the split in the country. We're very similar to America in this, left to right. If you add up the sort of the left votes and you add up the right votes, you're looking at 46% switch. I mean, you know, not 52-48, our favourite ratio. What does this poll tell you?
Well, firstly, our electoral system means that split will reward whichever coalition, the left or the right, is more united at the time of the next election. It's literally that simple. Yeah. If the Labour Party has got the bulk of that left-wing vote, they will win. If either the Conservative or the Reform Party have got the overwhelming bulk of that right caucus, they will win.
Because it's not a situation where Tories have a load of MPs, Reform have a load of MPs, and then they could unite if they chose, and they would beat Labour. It's going to be either Tory or Reform.
And that's right.
And likely, therefore, Labour will win those seats.
Labour will slip in through the middle, despite being a smaller supported party at the time of the next election. And all of this points, in my mind, to the urgent need and the urgent requirement for some kind of arrangement to stop that. Otherwise, 10 years of Keir Starmer, and I really mean this, it will be a matter of, will the last person to leave Britain please switch the lights off? We will have Rachel Reeves running this economy for 10 years. We will have Ed Miliband running our energy system for 10 years.
Sorry, I'm just going to have to...
We will have Angela Rayner pulling the levers of power until the 2030s. And that is the inevitable electoral consequence of what we're seeing. And look, here's the thing, and I think this is what it really comes down to. Kemi Badenoch is a good, strong politician. There's a lot to be said about her, and there's a lot to be said about the...
You were a supporter of Robert Jenrick. You helped run his campaign for the leadership. But, yeah, you still
But there's a lot to be said about Kemi Badenoch. There's a lot of strengths to her, and there's a lot to be said about the Conservative Party. Yeah. Many, many people in this country just vote for the Conservative Party instinctively, reflexively, particularly older people who we know vote in elections. Nigel Farage is the most phenomenal politician of his generation. Reform are coming a long way, and their brand is in many ways better than the Conservatives. Neither of those parties, led by their current leaders, are going to break through dramatically one against the other. The Conservatives are not going to push Reform back down below 10%. They just aren't.
And Reform are not going to do a deal with the Tories.
But Reform are also not going to push the Conservatives back down under 10%. It's just not going to happen. So many people just vote instinctively for the Conservative Party, quite apart from the fact that a lot of people quite like Kemi Badenoch. And so the reality is we are going to go, absent some kind of arrangement, into the next election with that vote split painfully. And if Keir Starmer could hold together the coalition of public sector workers, train drivers, all the rest of it, the unemployed, that sent him into office in the first place, he is going to be stuck there. And this is the basic electoral reality that nobody seems to be ready to admit or accept. And if they don't, I think much in the same way as people could see what Labour was coming round the corner but said, oh, it won't be that bad, we can cope with it, much like now, they will regret it.
Well, there you are. You were told. What do you make of that? 0344 499 1000. A lot of people would say, just, you know, sorry, the Tories just don't deserve to be in. And until they get the memo about net zero, about wokedom, about the economy, then I'm afraid they don't deserve to be in. That's what a lot of people think. I mean, certainly, I mean, Labour, again, I say it so often, but I knew they'd be bad. I thought the country probably needed a little dose, especially younger people. Let's have a little dose of your Labour Party. And I said that as somebody who grew up in a Labour family. I said that as someone who voted, you know, who's voted Labour a number of times for Tony Blair. I mean, you know, I voted for like 5 different political parties over my adult years. I'm not party, you know, I have no allegiance to any individual party. But I knew they'd be bad. I genuinely, in my wildest dreams, I couldn't have imagined they would be this bad. And I never understood why people held a candle for Rachel Reeves. I always thought that Keir Starmer was a terrible communicator, but he was vaguely competent. And they, you know, he got Sue Gray in, and, you know, they had a plan. They knew what they were going to do. Yeah, they'd look after their own supporters, but they were going to, okay, it was, I thought, you know what, it will probably be boring, but it'll be steady as she goes. It's been so bad loads of drama, but the wrong kind of drama. The economy in the doldrums, looking like we could head into recession. They're going to try and take us back into the EU by hook or by crook. I mean, they're so dishonest. I mean, so dishonest and disrespectful of a democratic choice of people in this country. And they are utterly incompetent in every single area, whether it's communications, whether it's management, whether it's policy ideas, whether it's the economy. And you've got, Keir Starmer's incompetent. He can't do anything without an autocue. Rachel Reeves has got no feel for anything, no good judgment. Rachel Reeves is clearly utterly useless at her job. No way she survives the full 5 years.
Look, I've come to the solid view that Rachel Reeves has now reached the point where she is worse than Liz Truss. She has crashed the economy more so. Bond returns are even higher than they were under Liz Truss. The economy is flatlining, getting into bad growth. And strangely, bizarrely, I think Rachel Reeves is even less likeable than Liz Truss was. And look, that is saying something. The very nadir of Conservative government, the worst it got, and boy was it bad, make no excuses for it whatsoever. This government has managed to best it in 6 months.
I mean, could someone tell the BBC about that? Because BBC, ITV and Sky, they just casually... They're obviously feeling the pressure, they're sort of vaguely mentioning it. But again, it's very sympathetic coverage, and it's, it's not as exciting as wildfires, is it? And how do you feel about the fire? I mean, that's the extraordinary thing in terms of the coverage they're getting. And they're still getting, the markets. Markets don't care about the coverage. The markets look at the reality. What do you make of... Let's put that image back up on the screen for those watching on YouTube. The Daily Star front page today, the meme, the joke about the lettuce, about Liz Truss, and would her premiership last longer than this lettuce would last with, this rotting cos lettuce. They've now put Rachel Reeves, they put her wig over a lettuce on the front page, saying, should we be popping out for another lettuce? When you're being mocked like that, and only 6 months in, the end is nigh, isn't it?
This government doesn't feel like it has much vitality. But look, here is the thing about this government. It didn't come in with masses of public support.
Yeah.
It just didn't.
The loveless landslide.
Keir Starmer got fewer votes than Jeremy Corbyn did in 2017. Yeah. A guy that literally called Hamas and Hezbollah his friends was more popular than our current Prime Minister.
Mind-blowing, isn't it? I've got so much I want to get to, because we're going to be talking more about the Donald Trump and the Special Counsel report in America. But I do want to talk about Keir Starmer facing more and more pressure as both the Labour MP for Rochdale and the Labour MP for Rotherham. Rotherham, of course, Sarah Champion, someone who faced outrageous cries of racism and bigotry when she wanted to talk about the grooming gangs in her area. Paul Moore is a new MP for Rochdale. He's I would say, really good bloke. He's a really straight bloke. I used to work with him on the Evening Standard. He's a long-standing journalist. He's a good guy, and he clearly sees which way the wind's blowing. Do you think that Keir Starmer is basically going to have to back down and U-turn, and that there will be a national public inquiry? They'll call it something else, but it will be a national public inquiry into the grooming gangs. And do you think that will achieve anything? Here's
my prediction. Keir Starmer now can't back down, but he is going to have to give something away. And what I suspect is going to happen is that there will be a new national fund set up to fund local councils in order to conduct their own inquiries. And here's why that's a huge problem, because there is something unique about this pattern of offending that did take place in 60 odd different towns and cities across this country. We know that this pattern of offending is very different. Andrew Norfolk at the Times spent years and years proving this case, that there was this unique pattern about Pakistani men from certain towns in Pakistan even. No one is saying that everyone from Pakistan is a child groomer. I mean, that's the thing. You can have this conversation with the nuance. Absolutely not. And they were often working in similar jobs in the nighttime economy. Like, we know that there is a pattern of particular type of men offending against a particular type of girl. We know there's a racial element. We know there was a hate crime element to it. No, there wasn't, because it's the wrong way round. But no, you know that. Nobody in power seems to want to get to the bottom of why. Because it goes against every narrative in their heads about white bad, brown-skinned,
victim. I mean, that genuinely, I wrote about this in the Sun last week. This is genuinely, I got an Indeed from Elon Musk for the article. I'm worried about that.
I mean, are we honestly prepared to hold up white working class girls as sort of sacrificial lambs in order to protect diversity?
Yeah, that's literally what has been done in this country for 20 years. No, that's literally that was the price that had to be paid, apparently, by the people, the good and the great who are in charge. I mean, this is the terrifying thing. We're going to talk more about that in the next half hour, and I do want to take a call. I'm going to get to the most important story of the day now, though. A pizza restaurant in Norwich that is so horrified by the number of customers who want to have pineapple on their pizzas that they said, yeah, OK, you can have a Hawaiian, you can have pineapple on your pizza, but we're going to charge you £100 for the privilege. What do you make of this story, Sam? I mean, you know, the market speaks.
Yeah, I'd never believe in banning things, but it ought to be a summary.
If you were going to have a ban.
It's a criminal offence punishable by many, many years in prison to have a pineapple on a pizza.
No,
I spent my entire youth going on holiday in Italy, eating great Italian food, still cook it all the time. It is disgusting, it is disgraceful, it is abhorrent, it is wrong,
do you know what?
It is appalling.
I love all pizza, I have to say.
Don't
My lot,
do this to
they
me.
get bonus points on their bingo card every time I say, Pizza Express put me through university. I worked at loads of different Pizza Expresses, waitress all the time. We ate pizza for breakfast, lunch and dinner on 12-hour shifts, and I used to play games with the chefs. I would bring in a tin of pineapple chunks and put pineapple on my pepperoni pizza.
I'm
It's
appalled.
very nice.
I am appalled.
I don't like people being snotty about these things.
thought we were friends.
It's like the Spaniards getting upset about, was it Jamie Oliver's paella or something? It's like, get a grip.
Pineapple is the one exception. It's pizza. Just put some
I mean, it's
ham
better
on
in
it,
a pina
anything on
colada.
it. Oh, now we're
Right,
talking.
do you know what? Sam and I are going to fall out over this. Get your calls in, people.